Does alternative medicine and natural remedies and all this stuff, does it actually work, or is it all just a bunch of baloney, bunch of crap compared to the classical trained or the modern medicine? Today we're going to talk with Dunn and Kianna. They had an experience at Wildwood. It wasn't the traditional thing that you see in regular medicine in many ways. And so we're going to kind of explore the experience that y'all had and your opinion on it, but stay tuned. This is the Nice Veins Bro podcast, the #1 personal development podcast for healthcare and wellness professionals. I am Nene Pablo, host of this podcast, registered nurse, and creator of Nice Veins Bro. So I have here in the room family, because that's what every small business always sells to their family first. Mm-hmm. And every small podcast has family that they interview first. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. Thank goodness I actually have good content for my family, because we have people in the medical field, in healthcare. So I have my brother-in-law and his wife. Just kind of introduce what you do.
Okay, so I am Dunn Arante, and I work in healthcare informatics. I actually started as an LVN, and then I got my bachelor's, transitioned to RN. I started in clinical oncology. So yeah, I
Did you not like it?
I think I liked it when I started, but as the years went on, I worked for about 3.5 years. I didn't like the having to deal with, life and death decisions.
Yeah,
so,
it's tough. Yeah.
But, God opened a door to where I was able to transition into the IT side of healthcare. And it's funny because I originally wanted to be in computer sciences. So I guess technically in a roundabout way.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, and thank you for being on the podcast. Yep. And Kianna?
Yes, so I am a certified occupational therapy assistant, or COTA for short. I worked in the hospital for 4 years, so trauma and ortho were kind of my specialties. And then now I have entered the world of teaching at the same program I graduated from locally here at a college. So I've been doing that for a year. I've been out of the hospital as well for a year, which is different. Teaching is different than treating patients.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we fully appreciate that till we're doing it. So.
Yes. So I want to go right into the conversation about Wildwood. Mm-hmm. Okay. So for those who don't know, can you explain what Wildwood is?
Okay. So Wildwood is a lifestyle center that focuses on natural remedies to reverse diseases.
Where's it at?
In Georgia.
What caused you to seek care there? Let's just start there. What was the beginning of the story?
Okay, so I had gone to my primary care, just for regular follow up, and she kind of noticed some darkening lines on my neck, and she was like, "Oh, this is kind of indicative of some kind of metabolic syndrome." I'd never heard of it. So she was like, "I'll order an A1C on you and we'll see if, hopefully your blood sugars are under control." So the irony was I was in the McDonald's parking lot, just picking up some breakfast, after doing some errands in the morning.
This was after the meeting or after the appointment?
This was after
after
my appointment, and it was just the last week. Okay, so my primary care nurse called me, and she was like, "Your labs indicate that you have diabetes," and I was like,
literally at McDonald's.
Yeah, so it was a little rough, trying to process the information. I had already bought my breakfast, so I was just gonna eat my breakfast.
You're reading and you're like, wow.
Not exactly,
okay.
but
the final hoorah.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm too young to. I don't want to take any diabetic medication.
How old are you?
33.
33. Oh yeah, that's right. I'll be 34 later this year. I felt like I needed to really change something.
It's kind of a wake up call.
Yeah.
To get something like that.
Yeah. So I had a game night with my guys. I think it was Wednesday. And I was like, I need to cancel tonight. no reason. So I took that evening to kind of process, and then I told Kianna the next day, I know I'm not going to make any changes without some help.
Yeah. That's like that self-awareness of like, okay, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I know I got to make changes, but I also
I'm
know
not going
that
to do it myself.
I also know my personality, and my strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember looking up some videos about natural diabetes management, and I found a lady, Barbara O'Neill, and she's also like a natural lifestyle medicine type person, and she gave me some tips on what I needed to change in my diet. So that weekend we totally redid our entire pantry, our fridge. Mm-hmm. We got rid of all the sugars. I cut out like all the high fat stuff too.
And when we talk about Barbara O'Neill, we don't know her personally. It's a lady who has a lot of YouTube videos and who's done a lot of lectures.
They went to WebMD.
Mercy. Don't come at us. Anywho, I had looked up some stuff from Barbara O'Neill back when I was in college early because I had some health stuff going on too. And it was unrelated. It was like women's health stuff. And so I found some of her stuff to be really helpful. I actually implemented it, and then it brought success for me. And so I think that's kind of where he probably heard the name. And then when he started doing research to find resources of what do I do now, I think that probably is what triggered, well, what does she have to say? And there are a lot of testimonials or like success stories from following the same protocol. And so we were like, why not? I mean, if the next option is medication anyway, what's to hurt by trying something like adjusting your diet?
Where does Wildwood come into the picture here?
So I had heard of Weimar, and Weimar is kind of a similar type facility, but I believe it's in California. And I have a family member who had gone there for treatment themselves and was successful as well. And so I started to do some research because I was a little intimidated by like, okay, we have this information and we're doing our best to follow it, but do we fully comprehend it? And are we doing it correctly to where we're going to receive the benefit that we need? Or do we need some more like one-on-one training? Dunn was on medications prescribed by his PCP, and obviously we don't want to adjust those ourselves, and then cause more harm or...
Yeah, I guess we can get into my comorbidities.
It
wasn't just diabetes.
Yeah, okay.
And so we'd made the changes we could, but I started doing research on these facilities and I found Wildwood. And to be honest, one of the reasons I picked that facility is because it looked the nicest in the pictures. I'm kind of that person who researches hotels for like 2 weeks before I pick one.
Yeah.
This one looked the most updated, and they had medical professionals on site. They had doctors, they had nurse practitioners, they had ability to do labs and utilize that while giving treatment and intervention. And that to me made me feel comfortable. I didn't want somebody who was kind of willy-nilly just doing things that could potentially bring him harm. So anyway, I found this facility and I texted it to him. I was at work. I don't know if this would be helpful, but something to think about. And immediately he was like, I want to go, which is strange.
Yeah.
Because, it's not a comfortable thing. You're going somewhere you don't know these people. Yep. But he just immediately was like, no, I want to go. And so I called and got some information, got pricing, and gave that information to him. And I think within the next day or so, you had filled out all the paperwork.
So you arrived to Georgia. Mm-hmm. And tell me what's going through your mind when you start meeting these people. Do they look kooky and weird? I mean, when you know what it's like when people are thinking about the natural remedies. I mean,
they're
here we're
thinking of
talking.
wackos.
It's weird
that
people
scary.
Who's like, oh, let me just, lay my hand on you. And
honestly, I didn't even care what they look like.
That's the thing. Yeah, when you get this diagnosis, it's like,
I was there to just take
Get
care
better.
of what I needed to take care of.
Absorb the information. Yeah.
And if they had any information that could help, then I'm gonna focus all my attention and my efforts in following what what they recommend. So
Okay, so tell me your schedule, because you had texted me. You texted me while you were there, and you said do you remember this? You sent me a screenshot.
yeah, I remember sending you 2 screenshots, and
This is my schedule.
It was a schedule on my iPad's calendar.
Yeah.
And following the entire program, I never actually felt tired.
Oh, okay. Even though it was an intensive, like,
it was a full day schedule. It was like
super early.
6 to 7.
For how long?
6
How long
a.m.
were
to
you
7
there?
p.m.
You were there for
11 days.
You were there for 11 days, and you're waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30, and then you're going to bed.
Probably between 9 to 10.
Okay. But you would be finishing your day, like the assignments that they would have.
Yeah, I would finish my day around like 7,
Yeah.
and that's when I would like get ready for bed.
Wow. And what's going on in this time? So you're getting walks, you're doing exercises, and what else?
Lectures.
They did labs when you got there.
Before we even get to Wildwood, the changes that we made before I even went.
Yeah.
So that was like 3 weeks, I think, before Wildwood, and I had changed my diet to all vegan.
Except for a little chicken. You had some chicken.
That's right.
You gotta. I mean, the chicken.
He had some grilled chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love meat, so
You're going to have a lot of supporters in that.
Yeah. I mean,
Chicken.
Who likes chicken? Comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Show the guy some support, okay? So, what was the goal? The goal there when you told them this is what I'm coming with, and what were the first goal that they had for you? Do they have you fill out a whole questionnaire, and this is the goal for you?
So they pulled all of his medical records from his PCP's office.
Okay.
Before he even went, and he had to fill out an application in order to be approved to even go to their facility. So everything's individualized. They ran labs when he first got there, which actually looked better, I think, which is what you were getting to. Yeah. Your labs looked better upon arrival before they even started their treatment compared to his PCP's visit because of the changes he had already made. So that was really encouraging.
I guess to set the background, I weighed 200 pounds at my primary care visit. Okay. And my primary was like, you need to lose at least 15 pounds, and that's doable. So when I got to Wildwood, they did labs. My A1C was actually 6.9, so that's like way high. And when I got there, did the labs, my A1C had gone down from 6.9 to 4.9.
Like you were making progress, and you're like, this is okay. I'm seeing results here.
I imagine that probably helped you stay like encouraged throughout your time there too, because you already are like seeing progress from the changes you've made. It like gives you some oomph to keep going.
It's kind of like when you go to the gym and you start seeing those veins pop out, and you're like, nice veins,
bro.
It's addictive. It's addictive, and you start seeing it. I mean, it's encouraging. Like it pumps you up to keep going. So you're there for 11 days. Give us the results at the end of the 11 days, and then we'll cover some of the herbal stuff that they're giving you.
So how much did you weigh, and what did your labs look like at the end?
At the end,
yeah.
I weighed 177.5 pounds. So overall, 22-ish pounds lost.
So 177. How did your labs look?
They looked normal, basically. I mean, the doctor that was overseeing my care was like, this looks like a normal, healthy, male at this age. So
how many meds were you on when you got there?
Okay, so let's see. Blood pressure, I had 3 blood pressure meds, and I also had high cholesterol, so I think I was taking 2 lipid medications. And then my blood pressure would normally run, mid 120s over 80s or higher.
On the medication?
On the medication.
On 3?
On 3 blood pressure meds, yeah.
And every now and then it would be, a little bit lower. But once we finished the program, I would be around low hundreds to over 60s. Yeah. So they stopped basically all the medications I was taking except for half of a blood pressure medication.
It's wild.
And that's in 11 days, right? Because that's the end of 11 days. You're only taking
half of one.
Half of one.
Yeah, and his blood pressure, he's monitoring it. A doctor's monitoring it, That's
fantastic.
Yeah,
and that's with changes that you were able to take hold. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Empowering yourself to eat better, to stay active, things that anyone can do, right? I want to talk about the herbal things because you show up and they say, hey, take this tea and it'll lower your blood pressure. I mean, some people will look at that and be like, that's weird. You're what did we say earlier? A quack.
Yeah, like a quack doctor.
Yeah, that's alternative medicine. In fact, if you search, that was really good. Do it again.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. If you go on Wikipedia and you search like alternative medicine, you know, the way that it's
Not
presented,
FDA approved.
well, it'll say things like this is not scientific, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. And I understand what the approach is. I mean, they're saying that there aren't large bodies of like research, like pharma is very highly regulated, and there's a lot of drugs and there's a lot of studies behind things.
Yes.
And so you get this kind of like, well, this means that this is the best way to go.
Yeah.
So when someone says, "Let me give you a tea," it sounds like I'm gonna.
It sounds like
I'm just
voodoo.
I'm gonna just like my hand is giving you energy so that you're, that's not gonna, heal my cardiac issues or something, right?
Yeah.
What herbs is it that they were talking about? And
So there's the supplements, there are herbal supplements that I'm taking, and then there's also herbs as a tea.
Okay. And what are the ones that you're taking regularly?
I'm taking CoQ10. I think it's 100 milligrams with hawthorn, and that's supposed to affect the blood pressure. Googleberry for
Google.
That sounds fake.
Google lipid
Googleberry.
Google lipid.
for my cholesterol.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are not giving medical advice.
No.
No, absolutely not.
We're just giving a story.
Please talk to your doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Please talk to your
before
doctor.
you stop anything or start
Right.
anything.
Yeah. This is not medical advice, but it's interesting what you're saying. You're taking these supplements, you're taking this tea, and you are seeing like active changes in your blood pressure. Obviously, with lifestyle changes, you're not just living the same way and just taking these supplements, right? Because that's the other thing. A lot of people are like, it didn't do nothing for me. Yeah, you've been sedentary.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the diet, but he also added changes before he even went to Wildwood to his environment at home because he works from home. And so now he has a standing desk. He has a walking pad so he can walk during meals.
Heck yeah, dude.
Or not during meals, sorry, during meetings. He was walking like 3 miles a day on days that we didn't go to the gym. He started going to the gym more. So a lot of factors. And, even when you talk to a doctor about like medication, like pharmacy medication you take for something like anxiety, I had a doctor tell me this medication is good at what it does, but if you don't eat right, drink water, sleep, and exercise, it's not going to work as well.
Yeah.
So why would we think that supplements and like herbs work any differently than that?
I remember a conversation I had with my doctor at Wildwood. He was classically trained. I think it was in Houston. He's an MD, but one emphasis he made was that, providers, how they're trained, they don't really know any better until they discover a better way to treat a patient. Really, he was like, medications are good for helping you get onto the right path, but you really don't want to be on medications for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's not the goal. And I feel like there's too often this idea that let me give you something and we're good, we're done. And I think that for a lot of things, I'm not going to say everything, right? Sometimes you're going to need a medication and you've got to keep taking that. But the goal really at the end of the day is how can we either decrease the dose, how can we make you less dependent on this and empower you to make the choices that you have control over, where you don't need to put all this money into, paying big pharma, as they say, to continue to feed you this drug, really, that's not natural as well, right? So, because a lot of times the medications have these other side effects that other solutions don't. I mean, walking. What's the side effect of walking?
Yeah, I think the question you have to ask is quality of life. Yeah. What is my quality of life? What do I want it to look like if it's not what I want now? And I think it's important to mention that the supplements you're on and the tea you're on is not something you're supposed to be on long-term either.
Yeah, and I made sure to ask the doctor that because, I don't want to be taking this forever either.
Right.
But he was like, the medications have their place, and then the herbal supplements have their place. But the goal is for you to not be reliant on any of that.
To be healthy by lifestyle.
Right. Lifestyle at the end of the day is where you're headed. And so whether you're on the medication or you're on the herbal supplements and the teas, it's the lifestyle that at the end of the day is going to land the plane, because you don't want to just be taking all the herbs and all of the stuff the rest of your life either. Okay, so I want to ask a question. What does it look like, though, to have a balance between that conventional medicine and the holistic medicine? Because I feel like there's this balance that needs to happen. Because there's too many people who are sort of fighting each other, and you have some people who are way off the deep end on one thing. They'll accuse everyone in the larger pool of medicine that everybody on that pool is just trying to make a buck. I hate some of that, because I actually believe a lot of people, in that industry are really just trying to make a buck off of people. So they'll just slap a pill and that's your solution, but it makes you dependent. But then there's other people on the other side that say anything that is natural or holistic or anything, they put a label on it, it's quackery.
Not FDA approved.
It's not FDA approved. It's not effective. So what's the balance? What does that look like?
I think education's important. And I know that Google is not a doctor, for sure. But that doesn't mean you can't utilize the resources you have to try to educate yourself some. I also think having a doctor who will tell you when they feel like something, or they know something is bad, wrong, dangerous, but will also give room for you to advocate for yourself and to ask questions. And I think Dunn's PCP has given that space. I mean, even since he's come back from Wildwood, he's messaged her, filled her in, what's kind of happened, the doctor that he saw, what that doctor changed. She's excited for him.
That's awesome.
And I kind of was like, I wonder if she's going to be like threatened, or not maybe threatened, but like insulted that you went to another provider. No, she's like, fantastic, drop by and let's see the lab work that they had done so we can take that into consideration, and let's move on from here. And that's great,
I would say it's a red flag if you had a physician that feels threatened like that, you can't get another input. You can't go to someone else. You got to follow what I say. Yeah. That's a red flag.
And I think obviously physicians have training that none of us have, and most people don't. And so I think there's a respect that ought to be given to them
Absolutely.
For that. But I also think there are patients' rights for a reason, and we should be given space to advocate and ask questions. And doctors should also be given space to give the recommendations they do feel
Absolutely.
Or know are the best. And that's where you have to balance that information. And I think that's personal.
Just to remember that there is a place for medication, especially in an acute phase of whatever disease process that you have. You need to be able to get it under control so that you can make your lifestyle changes.
Yeah, so you don't have a stroke while you're trying to learn about herbs.
Or it's like when you're having a cardiac arrest, it's not the time to go, whoa.
I need to change my diet.
What tea can I quickly,
I'm half unconscious, but can somebody pour some tea down my throat?
Yeah. It's early onset. We were talking about early onset, and a lot of these things that are herbal or that are natural, they help early onset, bro. It's not something that you take necessarily when you're down the pipeline.
In the middle of something.
In the middle of something that is very acute, that you need something critical. So let's use some of those tools, like you said, in the acute setting where you are giving epi, you are giving, levo, you are
morphine.
Giving these. Yeah, he says morphine close to the morphine.
Well, I mean, we've all spent time in the hospital on the staff side. We've seen these things save lives.
Yes.
You know, so I don't think it's reasonable or fair to say forget it all.
Yeah, no.
That's not even scientifically or evidence-based by any means.
No.
But I think to say to forget all of the natural stuff too is, isn't fair.
Right. I think that at the end of the day, when we look at medicine at large, both alternative and the modern medicine, classically trained, if it's treating body, mind, and spirit, if it's treating all of those and taking it on a holistic approach, you're good. Always be ready and willing to be corrected. If you're always searching for a better answer, that's really the medical model at the end of the day anyway. So if you are from the classically trained and you're refusing anything from the natural community, I mean, I would say, hey, question your own scientific model. So what is your biggest takeaway if you want to give an advice to someone who's watching who is struggling with lifestyle choices that they know they need to make? 'Cause a lot of times with people who are working in healthcare, we know some of the answers and we don't put it in practice. Or what did you learn at Wildwood? The biggest takeaway?
Well, one thing that I've been working on is taking natural anti-inflammatories, because that's a big part of my disease processes, like high blood pressure, diabetes. So 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder and 1 teaspoon of ginger powder, and mix that with some plant-based milk. Take that with every meal.
It's disgusting. He gave it to me the other day.
And he loved it.
No, I didn't. But it was good for
Maybe
me.
you could add some coconut sugar or something, a healthy sugar if you need,
I'm very happy for you, genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's an amazing process. And I hope that, because, I mean, you even taught me how to bake some bread, some healthy bread.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's on his way to writing a cookbook or a baking book, right?
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you found the story inspiring, and maybe there's something that you can do in your own life that even just is that atomic change, a very small change that will get you in the right direction, and it'll help you to take personal responsibility for your own life. And it will help you have that personal growth that you achieve so that you can live better and take control of your life again. If you're watching on YouTube, please drop a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast platform, please leave a 5-star review and share it with somebody else. Remember to be a positive force and influence within healthcare and society. Que Dios me lo bendiga. When I would listen to podcasts before I became a podcaster myself, I didn't realize how much leaving a 5-star review helped. And so now on this side, I just want you to know that it really does mean a whole lot when people review and share the content. So if you enjoyed it, please share it with somebody and leave a 5-star review on whichever platform you use, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And if you're interested, you can also find us on social media at Nice Veins Bro, or shop online at niceveinsbro.com. My personal stuff you can find under Nene Pablo, which is spelled NENEPABLO. I spend most of my time on YouTube making vlogs and videos, and on Instagram. So I would love to connect with you. And remember, be a positive force and influence within healthcare and society. It's all about God, wellness, and purpose here. Thank you for listening.